Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Conversation Academy. I am so glad you could join us today for another practice session. Today, we are going to dive into a topic that many of you have asked for: how to talk to anyone in English with total confidence.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam, and I'm really excited to be here with you, Sarah. Talking to new people can be a little bit scary even in your own language, but doing it in a second language like English feels like a whole different challenge.
It really does, Adam. I think the secret is realizing that it doesn't have to be perfect. Today, we're just going to chat naturally so our viewers can hear how a real conversation flows. How are you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing great, thank you. I actually had a very productive morning. I woke up early, grabbed a coffee, and took a short walk before we started. It's a beautiful day outside, which always puts me in a good mood. How about you, Sarah? How has your morning been so far?
Oh, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. I'm a bit of a night owl, so mornings are usually a struggle for me. I need at least 2 cups of tea before I can even function properly. But once I get going, I'm fine. I'm really looking forward to this discussion because I remember how nervous I used to get when I first started learning other languages.
I think we've all been there. That feeling of your heart racing when you have to say hello to a stranger. But once you break the ice, it usually gets much easier. Speaking of breaking the ice, what do you think is the best way to start a conversation with someone you don't know?
Honestly, I think the simplest way is often the best. A warm hello and maybe a comment about the immediate environment. If you're at a cafe, you could mention the smell of the coffee or ask if they've tried the pastries. It's all about finding that small, shared experience.
That's so true. I often find that the weather is the safest bet, even if it feels like a cliche. If it's raining, you can just roll your eyes and say, "I hope this stops soon." And usually people will smile and agree. It's a low-pressure way to start.
Exactly. It's not about having a deep philosophical debate right away. It's about building a bridge. Once you've said hello, where do you usually go from there, Adam? Do you ask about their job or where they're from?
I try to avoid the job question too early. Sometimes people don't want to talk about work when they're relaxing. I prefer asking how their day is going or if they live in the neighborhood. It feels more personal but not intrusive. What about you? Do you have a go-to question?
I like asking people what they do for fun or what they've been watching lately. Everyone has a hobby or a favorite TV show, and people usually light up when they talk about things they love. It's much more engaging than talking about spreadsheets or office meetings.
That is a great point. I'm actually a huge fan of hiking. If someone asks me about my hobbies, I can go on for hours about the best trails I've found recently. There's a certain energy people have when they talk about their passions. Do you have any hobbies that you're particularly excited about right now, Sarah?
I've actually been getting into indoor gardening lately. I have a tiny balcony, but I've managed to grow some herbs and even a few tomatoes. It's very therapeutic to watch something grow from a tiny seed, although I must admit, I've accidentally killed a few succulents along the way.
Oh, don't worry. I think everyone has a black thumb when they first start gardening. I tried growing basil once and it turned brown within a week. I think I gave it too much water. It's all a learning process, right? Just like learning English.
That is such a perfect analogy, Adam. You're going to make mistakes. You might overwater a conversation by talking too much, or underwater it by being too quiet. The key is to find the balance and keep trying.
I love that. Don't be afraid to let your conversation succulents die. That should be a motto. But seriously, talking about daily routines is another great way to keep a conversation moving. For example, my daily routine is pretty strict. I like structure. I eat breakfast at the same time every day. Are you more of a go-with-the-flow person?
Definitely go with the flow. I have a general idea of what I need to do, but I don't like feeling trapped by a schedule. If I feel like reading a book for an hour in the middle of the afternoon, I'll do it. It drives my family a little crazy sometimes because they are very organized.
I can imagine. Speaking of family, are you close with yours? I come from a pretty big family, so there was always someone talking or making noise when I was growing up. I think that's why I'm so comfortable talking to people now. I had to fight to be heard at the dinner table.
I'm actually an only child, so it was the complete opposite for me. It was very quiet at home. I spent a lot of time talking to my pets or making up stories. My parents are very supportive, though. We talk on the phone almost every day. It's funny how our childhoods shape how we communicate as adults.
It really is. Being an only child must have given you a lot of time to reflect and think. I think that makes for a great conversationalist because you're likely a very good listener. Listening is probably 70% of a good conversation anyway.
I totally agree. People think being good at English means speaking fast and using big words, but it's actually about understanding the other person and reacting to what they say. If you just wait for your turn to speak, you're not really having a conversation, you're just delivering a monologue.
That's a mistake I see a lot of learners make. They are so focused on their next sentence that they miss a funny joke or a question the other person asked. It's okay to pause and think. In fact, a small pause can make you look more thoughtful.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for clarification. If someone says something you don't understand, just say, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "What does that word mean?" Most people are more than happy to explain. It shows you are genuinely interested.
I actually think it's a compliment when someone asks me to explain something. It shows they are paying attention. Speaking of paying attention, I've noticed that people's body language says a lot too. A smile and eye contact go a long way in making the other person feel comfortable.
Absolutely. If you're looking at your feet or checking your phone, the other person will think you're bored or annoyed. Even if your English is limited, a friendly face tells the other person, "I'm enjoying this interaction."
You know, I had a funny experience a few years ago when I was traveling. I was in a small town where I didn't speak the language very well at all. I tried to order what I thought was a chicken sandwich, but I ended up with a plate of spicy peppers. I just had to laugh at myself and eat the peppers. Well, I tried to eat them.
Oh no, that sounds painful, but that's the spirit. You have to be able to laugh at the awkward moments. Did you manage to finish them?
Not even close. My eyes were watering, and I had to drink about 3 glasses of water. But the waiter and I ended up having a great conversation, using mostly hand gestures and laughter. It reminded me that communication is about connection, not just grammar.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Connection over perfection. I think that should be our main message today. Whether you're talking about your morning routine, your family, or your favorite movies, the goal is to connect with another human being.
Speaking of movies, have you seen anything good lately? I'm looking for a recommendation for this weekend. I feel like I've watched everything on my streaming list.
I actually just watched a documentary about deep sea exploration. It was fascinating, but also a little bit scary. The creatures they find down there look like they're from another planet. Do you like documentaries, or are you more into action and comedy?
I like a bit of everything, but I'm a sucker for a good mystery. I love trying to figure out the ending before it happens, although I'm usually wrong. My friends hate watching mysteries with me because I'm constantly whispering, "I bet the gardener did it."
Ha ha ha, I'm the same way. I love a good plot twist. It's like a puzzle for your brain. You know, talking about movies is such a great bridge topic because it leads to so many other things. You can talk about actors, travel locations, or even your own life experiences that relate to the story.
Definitely. It's all about these threads that you can pull on to keep the conversation going. If someone mentions a movie set in Paris, you can ask if they've ever been there. If they haven't, you can ask where they would like to travel if they had the chance.
Travel is such a universal topic. Everyone has a dream destination. If you could hop on a plane right now and go anywhere, Adam, where would it be?
That's a tough one. I've always wanted to see the Northern Lights in Iceland. There's something so magical about the idea of the sky changing colors. What about you? Are you a tropical beach person or a big city explorer?
I'm definitely a big city person. I love the energy of places like Tokyo or New York. I like the idea of getting lost in a crowd and finding a tiny hidden cafe that nobody knows about. There's a certain mystery to big cities that I find really appealing, and
I can see that. I think I'm more of a nature person. I like the quiet, but I do appreciate the food in big cities. You can find almost any cuisine in the world in a place like New York. I think I'd go there just for the pizza and the bagels.
oh, the food. We could probably talk for the full 30 minutes just about food. That's another great topic for English learners. Everyone eats and everyone has a favourite dish. It's very easy to ask, what's your favourite comfort food?
My favorite comfort food is definitely grilled cheese and tomato soup. It reminds me of being a kid on a rainy day. It's simple, but it's so satisfying. Do you have a favorite childhood meal that you still love today?
My grandmother used to make these incredible cinnamon rolls. The whole house would smell like cinnamon and sugar for hours. Even now, if I smell cinnamon, I'm immediately transported back to her kitchen. It's amazing how smells and tastes can hold so many memories.
It really is. Those kinds of stories are what make conversations deep and meaningful. When you share a memory like that, you're letting the other person into your world a little bit. It builds trust.
And that trust is what gives you confidence. When you realize the person you're talking to is just like you, with their own memories, fears, and favorite snacks, the language barrier starts to feel much smaller.
I think one thing that holds people back is the fear of being boring. They think their life isn't interesting enough to talk about. But honestly, I find the boring stuff, like how someone likes their coffee or what their commute is like, to be quite interesting because it's real life.
I agree. You don't need to have climbed Mount Everest to be an interesting person. Just being yourself is enough. I'm curious, Adam, what does a typical Tuesday look like for you, from the moment you wake up to when you go to sleep?
Well, my Tuesdays are usually pretty busy. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. I'm one of those morning people we talked about earlier. I usually spend the first hour of my day without looking at my phone. I find it helps me stay calm. Then I work for a few hours, take a break for a long lunch, usually a salad or a sandwich, and then I might have some meetings in the afternoon. In the evening, I usually try to get some exercise in, maybe a run or a gym session. Then I cook dinner, watch a bit of TV, and I'm usually in bed by 10:30 p.m. Pretty standard, really.
That sounds so disciplined. My Tuesday is much more chaotic. I usually wake up at the last possible second, rush to get my tea, and then I'm straight into emails. I often lose track of time and realize it's 2 p.m. and I haven't eaten lunch yet. By the evening, I'm usually quite tired, so I just want to relax with a book or some music. I'm trying to be more like you and put the phone away in the morning, though. It's a hard habit to break.
It is hard. We are so used to being connected all the time. But sometimes, disconnecting from the internet helps us connect better with the people right in front of us.
That is so true. Have you ever had a conversation with someone where you both ended up putting your phones away and just talking for hours? Those are the best.
Yes. It usually happens when you find a topic you both really care about. It's like the rest of the world just disappears. That's the flow state of conversation. And for our viewers, you can reach that state in English too. It just takes practice and the willingness to be a little bit vulnerable.
Vulnerability is key. It's okay to say, I'm having a hard time explaining this, but people will appreciate your effort. I remember when I was learning my second language, I once tried to tell someone I was embarrassed, but I used a word that meant I was pregnant.
Oh no, that is a classic language learner mistake. I bet that was a very confusing moment for the other person.
It was. They looked at me with so much surprise, and I couldn't figure out why until later. We both had a good laugh once the confusion was cleared up. Moments like that are what make life interesting. You have to be able to roll with the punches.
Exactly, and that brings us back to confidence. Confidence isn't the absence of mistakes. It's the ability to keep going even when you make them. If you say the wrong word, just correct it and move on. Or don't even correct it. If they understood what you meant, that's a win.
I think another important part of confidence is knowing how to end a conversation politely. Sometimes learners get stuck because they don't know how to say goodbye without being rude. Do you have any tips for that, Adam?
Definitely. I think a simple, "It was so nice talking to you, but I have to head out now," or "I'll let you get back to your day, but I really enjoyed our chat," works every time. It's polite, it shows you valued the time, and it gives a clear signal that the interaction is over.
That's perfect. It's all about leaving the other person with a good feeling. You want them to think, that was a nice person, not, why won't they stop talking?
Haha, exactly. And you can even add a little future comment like, "Hope to see you around again," or "Have a great rest of your week." It closes the loop nicely.
We've covered so much today, from small talk and hobbies to daily routines and handling mistakes. I hope our viewers are feeling a little bit more prepared to strike up a conversation.
I hope so too. Remember, the people you're talking to are usually just as nervous as you are, or at least they are just as human. They want the conversation to go well too. They aren't there to grade your grammar, they're there to interact with you.
That is the best advice. Focus on the person, not the grammar rules. Adam, thank you so much for sharing your stories today. I really enjoyed hearing about your spicy pepper adventure and your morning routine.
It was my pleasure, Sarah. I always enjoy our chats. It's funny how even though we're practicing for the channel, these conversations feel so real and natural to me.
That's because they are real. We're just two people talking, and that's exactly what our viewers will be doing soon.
Before we go, do you have any final words of encouragement for someone who is watching this and thinking, "I could never do that"?
I would say start small. You don't have to have a 30-minute conversation today. Just try to say one extra sentence to the cashier at the grocery store or the person next to you on the bus. Each small victory builds your confidence for the big conversations later on.
That's great advice. One step at a time. Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up for today.
I agree. Thank you all so much for watching and for being part of the English Conversation Academy community. We love seeing your progress and hearing your stories.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Keep practicing, keep staying curious, and most importantly, keep talking.
We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Goodbye, everyone.